Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the GSL-English Podcast. My name is Gideon, and this is a podcast for all learners of English to practice and improve in a relaxed and natural way. And in this episode, we are focusing on one thing that will help you to master your English. Okay, so whether you are currently a beginner, just starting out on your journey to learn English, this will definitely help you. Even if you are an advanced learner of English and you want to reach that next level, you want to get to that next point of fluency and understanding of the English language, this will definitely help you. So what are we talking about? Well, let's first say what it is not. Okay, so what you need to master your English is not dependent on natural ability. Let's be honest, some of us are more naturally inclined to learn languages. Our brains are just wired that way. Our brains are just tuned into languages and they're like a sponge. I've got friends like that. They can do Duolingo for 3 months and they've picked up Italian all of a sudden. I'll be honest with you, that's not me. I don't have natural ability when it comes to learning languages. It's not talent, okay? It's not focusing on talent in conversations and being able to present yourself a certain way. And also, this one thing that will help you to master English is not a certain course. So I'm not here to sell you a course today. It's not dependent on money, spending all of that money on a course which is going to make you fluent in 30 days. No, it's none of that. So what are we talking about? What is that one thing that will help you to master your English? It is persistence. Okay? We're going to focus on that word persistence. Now, persistence is a quality that can really help us to succeed at anything. So if there's anything that we want to learn, that we want to achieve, persistence will very often, or most likely, help us to get to that point. So in this episode, we're going to look at what persistence is. We're going to look at some studies that have been conducted to show how persistence can help us in multiple areas of life, but particularly, of course, it's an English podcast, so we're focusing on the English language. But also, we're going to look at a very famous quote from a past president of the United States. Okay, we're going to break down what he said about persistence, and in that quote there are some superb new vocabulary that you're going to learn. So of course we're focusing on this aspect of mastering your English with persistence, but throughout this episode we've got some new vocabulary to look at, some new expressions, and of course practice your pronunciation and follow along with my British accent, which a few of you in the comments have asked recently, where is your accent from? Where are you from? I am from the southeast of England in a county called Kent. Just so you know, if you're wondering where my accent is from, it's the southeast of England in Kent. And just as a note before we get into it, if you are new here and wondering what on earth you've tuned into, as I said in the intro, my name is Gideon. I'm an English teacher from London, and I create podcasts like this every week that come out on Sunday at 10 o'clock with the aim of preparing you for real life English. So I don't script these episodes word for word. We always have different themes that we talk about, but the idea is to present the English language to you in a relaxed and natural way whilst learning new vocabulary, new expressions, and just preparing you for real life English. So give it a subscribe, and if you are already a loyal subscriber and listener, thank you so much as always. I genuinely appreciate it. Okay. What is persistence? What would you say? I'm going to give you a couple of seconds here just to answer that question. And if you can, answer it out loud. What would you say persistence is? What does that word mean? Go. What did you come up with? I appreciate that wasn't a very long pause, but what did you come up with? Let me know in the comments at this point, what does persistence mean to you? Well, let me give you the Cambridge definition of persistence. Persistence is doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. Okay? That's the Cambridge Dictionary's definition of persistence. Doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. Now, I think that defines learning a language very well. Learning a language is difficult, isn't it? Learning a language is difficult. Having conversations in another language, it's difficult. Improving your pronunciation is difficult. Your accent, everything's difficult. And sometimes, let's be very honest, it takes a while to achieve success in English, doesn't it? And that is where persistence comes in. So it's very likely that up until this point, you have been persistent in your study, in your learning of the English language. But the question is, if we're not improving, if we're not getting to the point that we want to, if we don't feel that we have mastered English, and just as a note, when I say mastered English, what I'm referring to is getting to the point where you feel that you can have conversations, you can express yourself freely and naturally, because we don't ever stop learning English, even as a native English speaker. Clearly, I'm always learning about pronunciation and accent, but I don't mean that when we master English, we get to a point where we have finished. We've completed it. No, I mean, we're just at that point where we are very comfortable and we can have fluent conversations. But the question is, are we persistent in the right areas, or are we persistent in just repeating the same things? Because perhaps we are persistent at the moment. Perhaps we are keeping on going with the English language, but maybe we're just repeating the same things over and over again, and our persistence is being aimed in the wrong direction. So what we're going to do first is we're going to look at this idea of persistence. And we're going to look at a couple of pieces of research that I found online that spoke about the power, the reason as to why we should be persistent. So the first one is taken from The Power of Grit, and the researcher was Angela Duckworth from the University of Pennsylvania. And Duckworth's studies define grit, so that term grit, as passion and sustained persistence applied toward long-term achievement. So that grit, if you've got grit, you're not going to give up. You keep on going. It's not always easy. But she said this idea that passion and sustained persistence applied toward long-term achievement. And that's interesting, long-term. Very often as humans, we want results immediately, don't we? We want results for things that we can see. But persistence is that idea of the long game, long term. So in her book, Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance, she shows that grit, or persistence, we'll say, not IQ, not talent, not socioeconomic status, is the best predictor of success in education, training, and business. Okay. So she said, I think she brought military into it as well, but she said this idea, of persistence, that is the best predictor of how successful we're going to be. No, it's not about your IQ, how intelligent you are. It's not about your talent. There's no denying those things help. But what is the best predictor, or the best kind of clue that you're going to be successful, is your grit. It's your determination. It's your persistence. And one quote from her book said this: our potential is one thing. So our potential, what we have the ability to achieve is one thing. But what we do with it is quite another. Now that's a really interesting point, because we've all got potential, haven't we? I've got potential to do things that I am not working towards right now. So do you. So we might have potential to be an incredible carpenter, to be an incredible artist. But that potential without action is nothing. That potential without persistence is nothing. So the takeaway from her research really is that people who stick with difficult tasks over time outperform those who give up, even if they're not naturally gifted. We all have natural gifts. We all have things that we are naturally good at. But success comes from those that really stick with it. And isn't that true with the English language? Those that have reached that really high level are the ones that stuck with it. They went through those barriers. They kept going despite those difficulties, despite those awkward conversations, despite those moments that they don't want to talk about. They just kept on going. So that's the first bit of research. Interestingly, the second one, neuroscience. The brain learns through repetition, and the concept is neuroplasticity. The brain forms new connections when we repeat tasks, especially when we struggle, when we find it difficult, when it's challenging, and then we improve. So the idea behind this is that repetition plus effort over time literally rewires the brain to get better at a skill. So the idea here is that, of course, we make mistakes. We're going to do that. I know I've made mistakes even since speaking to you in this podcast. But when we're learning something, the repetition and effort, even when we're making mistakes, we're struggling to improve, the more that we do that, the more that we are persistent in repetition, effort, the effort in correcting our mistakes, we are literally rewiring or reprogramming our brain to be better at a skill. And the concept is that you don't need to be naturally talented at English. Your brain can adapt through persistent learning. And I really love that idea, because there might be something that we want to do. Let's say that you want to play guitar, or you want to be a better guitarist, and you pick up the guitar. Let's be honest, maybe you're just not that good at it immediately. That doesn't mean you're never going to be good at it. It just means you've got to be persistent over time. Put in the hard work and you will improve. I would not blowing my own trumpet here at all, but one of my natural skills is drumming. I just got on the drum set and I was very good at it. But when it comes to guitar, no. I pick up a guitar, I'm not very good at all. I don't have a natural inclination towards guitar. But through persistence, my brain kind of adapted to learning and playing the guitar in a way that I'm content with, that I'm happy. So this is a really encouraging point, really, that actually it's not about your natural talent. It's not about comparing yourself to your mate who's brilliant with English. It's just about, are you willing to be persistent? So the takeaway from that research is that learning happens not through a few big efforts, but through persistence, daily practice. Really interesting. Okay, the next point. Language learning research, and the study is from Foreign Language Learning, a research overview. And this study found that successful language learners aren't necessarily the smartest. They are the ones who engage regularly with the language. Repeated exposure. Again, mistakes happen. Let's try that one again. Excuse me. Repeated exposure plus use builds fluency over time. I'm just going to read that to you again. Successful language learners aren't necessarily the smartest. They are the ones who engage regularly with the language. Repeated exposure plus use builds fluency. And again, we've got this term, over time. I love that point. I mean, it's not saying that we're not smart if we've reached the point of fluency, but that is not the predictor of success. Intelligence, IQ, natural ability is not what makes it happen. It's those who engage, who interact regularly, persistently with the language. Repeated exposure, so repeatedly listening to the English language, watching these podcasts every Sunday at 10 a.m, repeatedly trying to speak the language, repeatedly writing. That is what builds fluency. That is what does it. An example, the CEFR, which is the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, estimates that it takes around 600 to 750 hours of study to reach English B2. But those hours can be spread out through persistent, regular practice. You don't need to cram. You need to keep going. Love that point. You don't need to cram. Learning a language is not about cramming your time into a week and then doing nothing for 2 weeks. It's just that persistence, that regularity. Just keep on going. Keep on doing it. Spread out your learning, your exposure, your use of the English language. This idea of being persistent. And of course, at your current level. Be persistent at your current level, persistently challenging yourself. But it's not this idea of chucking yourself into a language with the ambition of being fluent in 3 months. I know there's courses that will most definitely help you. They'll help you with your pronunciation, with your accent, but that's not going to happen. Persistence is the key to mastering English. Got some real life examples here that I found. The first one is from James Clear. He's the author of Atomic Habits, which we referenced in an episode recently that actually did really well. Thank you for your support on that episode. Go back and check it out if you haven't already done so. I'll try and leave like a little link somewhere if I can. I don't really know how to do that, but there'll be perhaps a link in this on the screen, or if it's not on the screen, it'll be in the description below. But we looked at the this aspect of how to stay motivated. So James Clear is the author of Atomic Habits. James Clear wasn't a famous expert or celebrity when he started writing. He committed to writing 2 blog posts per week, every week for over 2 years. That persistence built a loyal audience and eventually led to Atomic Habits, a best-selling book translated into over 50 languages. So this James Clear, he didn't think, right, I'm just going to write Atomic Habits and then it was a success. No, he committed. He persistently wrote 2 blog posts a week, every week for over 2 years. That takes persistence. But because of that persistence, he built this loyal audience. Because of that persistence, because of that effort, he slowly built that loyal audience. And eventually, of course, he wrote Atomic Habits, and I guess that's changed his life. I think it's very similar with YouTube, and I've noticed it with this podcast. Now, we are not the fastest growing YouTube channel out there, particularly in the English learning sphere. We're quite slow, actually. I've been doing this nearly 2 years now. Yeah, coming up 2 years. I think we're at like 44,000 subscribers, which I'm really proud of. But one thing I've noticed is through persistently posting episodes every Sunday at 10 a.m, we've built together this lovely, loyal community. And it's taken persistence. It's taken time. I've not always wanted to do it. I have to be honest. There's some weeks where I love you all for listening, but I don't want to record a podcast. I don't want to do it. I'm just not in the mood, not in the right mindset. But, it's that idea. Just persistently chip away. Persistently do it. And of course, for James Clear, 2 blog posts a week, persistent, stuck with it, now very successful. Another very, very famous example, Thomas Edison, the inventor who didn't quit. Thomas Edison was one of history's greatest inventors. And he's famous not just for his inventions, but for his incredible persistence. When he was working on inventing the practical electric light bulb, Edison reportedly tested over 1,000 different materials for the filament before finding the one that worked. When asked about his many failures, Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His relentless determination and refusal to give up, despite countless setbacks, changed the world forever. Imagine if he'd given up. They just kept on going. Kept on going. Imagine if you'd given up with your English at the times that you found it difficult. Imagine if perhaps you're at the point now where you're thinking about giving up. Don't. You might be on the cusp of just reaching that next kind of step of fluency. You might be there. Or it might take a bit more persistence. But every time we make a mistake, we can think about what Thomas Edison said. I've not failed. If you make a mistake in a conversation, you've not failed. If you don't get the result that you wanted on your IELTS test, you've not failed. If your English isn't as good as your mates, you've not failed. You're just on the way to getting there. And if you make a mistake, you've realised something that didn't quite work. You've realised something that you need to work on, an area that you need to focus on. But it's okay. Just don't give up. Be persistent. Stick with it. But I like that point. We've almost got to refuse to give up. Maybe we all make that little statement to ourselves now. I refuse to give up. There's no point. What's the point? You might be there. You might just be on the cusp of it, and I'm sure you are. We have that expression in English, Rome wasn't built in a day. Everything takes time. Everything worth having takes time. And it's not about cramming. It's not about Duolingo every day. It's just about persistence, but persistence in the right areas, persistently challenging yourself, persistently working on what you need to work on. Very good. So we're going to read this quote now. Okay, I hope you enjoy this quote as much as I did. It's by Calvin Coolidge. So in a moment, we're going to look into who he is. But at the outset, I just want to read the quote to you, and I'm going to read it twice. Okay? If you want to pause and repeat after me just to practice your pronunciation and your British accent, go for it. So I'm going to read this twice just so we can really get it in our minds, and then we're going to break it down. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan "Press on" has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. Okay, a lot of information just to take in there. I'm going to read it one more time and then we're going to break it down. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan "Press on" has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. Okay, brilliant quote. Brilliant quote. I want to get your opinions on it. So what we're going to do first, just look at the author and then just look at what is the meaning of the quotes, and then we're going to break it down section by section, and we'll go through the vocabulary as well. So if there's any words in there you weren't too familiar with, don't worry about it. We'll have a look at them. So this was by John Calvin Coolidge Jr., and he was the 30th President of the United States, and I think he ran from 1923 to 1929. Basically, the meaning of this quote is a powerful statement about the superiority of persistence over natural gifts or formal education. So basically that over our education, over our natural gifts, persistence is the superior quality. Now, if you've got persistence, you're winning. He kind of argues that while talent, genius, and education are valuable, they're not enough. It's a really interesting point. So talent, genius, and education, there is no denying that they are valuable, and I'm not saying that they're not. But they're not enough without consistent, determined effort. There's loads of people out there who've got those attributes, but they still fail because the lack of persistence, lack of determination. There's some incredibly intelligent people out there that, okay, some don't get the opportunity to shine, but many, they don't have the consistency, they don't have the persistence and the determination to follow through with it. So it goes wasted. So he's essentially saying that success is not about what you're born with, but how hard and consistently you work. Let me know if you agree with that. Now, of course, this idea is subjective. You might not agree with it, but I just think it's a good kind of principle to go by. So let's break it down. He started off by saying that nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Again, persistence is that consistent, determined effort over time. Okay, especially when we're facing challenges or something difficult, or perhaps when we've made a mistake, when we've failed. So the interpretation of this part basically is saying that there's no other trait, there's no other quality, no other advantage that can substitute, that can replace the power of steady, effort. So that's a bold statement to make at the beginning. You know, there might be education out there. There might be all of these qualities that we have, but you can't replace persistence. You know, that is what makes a success of us. So then he kind of goes on with that bold statement. So the first thing he lists that won't replace persistence is talent. Talent won't. Talent is natural ability, a natural aptitude towards something. Nothing, he says, is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. There are a lot of gifted people out there, aren't they? But they fail because they don't put in the work, or perhaps because they're not given the opportunity to put it out there. For example, I know when I've been travelling, I've met the most incredible guitarists. And some of them are just naturally talented guitarists. But they've not had the opportunity to shine. Or perhaps they've tried for a little bit, but they've given up in that pursuit of fame or being recognised. So although they've got that talent, there's no denying that is there. Without persistence, without working hard, without putting yourself out there, determination, consistency, well, then that talent really isn't going to help you. He goes on to say that genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. This is interesting. A genius is exceptional intellectual or creative power. So unrewarded genius is brilliant people whose ideas or efforts go unrecognised or unused. So even the most brilliant minds can go unnoticed if they lack persistence. It's such a common situation, it's almost proverbial, a known truth or saying. There are so many incredible minds out there, aren't there? Incredible ways of looking at things. But without persistence, without hard work, well, that genius goes unrewarded. You know what I mean? So having that genius alone, having that talent alone, is not what makes you successful, is not what makes you reach your goals. Okay, those qualities are helpful, but persistence is the one that helps you to get them out there. Persistence is the quality that helps you to use them. The next quality he mentions is education. Education, it will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. If we think of the word derelict, sometimes we might think of a derelict building. It's neglected. It's not been looked after. So here, a derelict is someone who is neglected, irresponsible, or perhaps not fulfilling their potential. There's a lot of educated derelicts out there. They spent years in education, studying away. But that education alone isn't enough. There are plenty of smart people out there, massively educated, but they still fail due to that lack of persistence, that lack of discipline, that lack of consistency. So I don't know. In my mind, it's a really interesting point because we might be talented, we might be educated, we might be a genius. I most certainly am not. But those qualities alone, just having them, is not what will make us reach our goals. It is being persistent with them. And that is where it goes on to say that persistence and determination alone, well, they're omnipotent. So determination is that quality of being resolute, that nothing is going to stop you. You are going to keep on going no matter what. And of course, he spoke about persistence. So persistence and determination, they are omnipotent. If something is not omnipotent, it is all powerful. With that quality, we can do anything. So the idea here is that only persistence and the will to keep going have the power to overcome our obstacles. That is the most important thing. Persistence, determination. And he makes this kind of interesting point at the end, which I guess is very political. The slogan, "Press on," has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. Quite a bold statement here. But that idea of press on is to continue moving forwards despite difficulty. Press on with your English. You might be at a point where you feel stuck. You don't know what to do. You don't know where to take it. You don't know how to improve. First thing you've got to do is just press on. Keep going. Keep moving towards your goal. But that mindset, perseverance, persistence, That is what helps us to get through our challenges. That is what helps us to get through our problems. So we could summarize this quote by saying that basically, success is not about how smart or talented you are. It's about how persistent you are. Keep showing up. Keep pushing forward. That's what changes lives and shapes the world. That's an interesting point. Your success in English, your mastering of the English language is not dependent on your natural ability, on your talents, on paying for a new course, on cramming once, for a week for your IELTS exam. It's about persistence. That is what will help you to reach your goals. And it's kind of true with anything, isn't it? Even if you want to go to the gym, if you want to build muscle, if you want to get fitter, what have you got to do? Be consistent, be persistent. You might have 1 week where you absolutely cram a load of workouts in. Well, that's pointless. If for the next 2 weeks you do nothing, lower it down. Be persistent. So you're just going to focus now on this idea of how persistence can help us with our English language. So it can help us to overcome challenges. Okay. English, it's a tricky language, isn't it? It is difficult. There's complex grammar, tricky pronunciations, a lot of exceptions. We think, why is that an exception? Well, persistence helps you to just push through that confusion or frustration. When you don't understand a grammar rule, when you forget vocabulary you've just learned, when people speak too fast for you to follow, well, with persistence, you just keep on going instead of giving up. It's frustrating, but you're persistent. You're not going to give up. It helps us to build habits. Learning a language takes consistent effort. It takes persistence. It takes practicing daily, even when you don't feel like it. You keep studying. You keep talking, even after you've made mistakes. And even when something feels hard, if you are persistent, you try again. You give it another go. You give it another shot. And you build those healthy habits, that healthy relationship with English. And also, when we're persistent, we improve our skills gradually. Because let's be honest, as you are probably well aware, fluency doesn't happen overnight, does it? But persistence allows you to notice small improvements. Persistence allows you to be patient with your progress. Persistence allows you to stay motivated even when growth feels a little bit slow, when you're struggling a little bit. Well, persistence just helps you to keep on going. And also, it's an interesting connection that persistence helps us to feel more confident. The more you practice, the more you push through difficulties, the more confident you become. The more you persist with the English language, the more you have that determination, the more confident you become. And then because of your confidence, you speak without fear. You don't worry about making mistakes. You learn from corrections instead of being embarrassed by them. But also, very interestingly, you learn to take risks when you're persistent. Like throwing yourselves into conversations that you're kind of out in your depth with by listening to podcasts that are out of your comfort zone. You're willing to take risks when you're persistent. And also, finally, persistence helps you to stay motivated. Setbacks are normal. Mistakes are normal. Sometimes feeling rubbish about your English, it's normal. But persistence helps you to keep the end goal in mind, the long-term view of it. Even when you're not seeing quick results, even when you're comparing yourself to others, even when you feel discouraged, persistence helps you to say, no, I'm just going to keep on going. But persistently challenge yourself. And really, that is what will help you to master English. Persistently learn new vocabulary. Not cramming 1,000 words in a week. That's a load of rubbish. Don't do it. But persistently learn new vocabulary every week. Persistently speak out loud in conversations. Follow along with the Speak With Me videos on YouTube. Shadow read. Persistently read in English. Persistently listen to podcasts. Okay, we're not expecting results overnight, but that idea of mastering the language, getting to a point where we can communicate freely, is not an overnight matter. It happens over time. And that persistence is the most powerful thing we can have when we're learning anything. So there you go. I just wanted to share that thought with you because I do understand that learning English can be frustrating, but all of us can do it. All of us can reach that point of fluency, that point of mastering the language with persistence if we just push through and keep on going. So perhaps, at the moment, it might mean for you that you just need to just adjust your approach to the English language, but just be persistent. Don't give up. You got this. All right, there you go. So a little bit of a catch up before we end the podcast. I think we need to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the podcast background. The acoustic panel is up. I was procrastinating doing that for a very, very long time. But it was actually really easy to put up. So let me know what you think. What do you think of the acoustic panel? If you're watching on YouTube, yeah. Of course, if you're listening on Spotify, once again, as I said last week, this is a pointless bit of the podcast, but I appreciate that you're still listening. I put this acoustic panel up. I think it makes the sound quality a little bit better, or is that just a placebo effect in my mind? But let me know what you think. And if you would have seen my post yesterday, you would have seen that there was a picture here. Funnily enough, I put the picture up yesterday. Actually, I've got the picture down here. Let me show you it. Oh, where's it gone? Oh, a minute. Okay, this is and I've knocked the camera. 1 minute, let's come back. Okay, there we go. Do you know what? I'm not even going to edit that little mistake out. The camera knocked, but it is what it is. Okay. This is the podcast, the picture that was up. As you know, I'm a Star Wars fan. Absolutely love Star Wars. This picture is from Tatooine. It's got Luke in it, in his speeder. That was the picture that was up. But so it was just there, like that, which is going to look wicked. But as I closed my door, the picture fell down. Just as I closed my door to record this podcast, the picture fell down. So I need to do a better job of putting it on the wall. There you go. Let me know what you think of the background. Do you like it? And do you think I should paint the white walls? If so, what colour? I would love to know what colour I should paint them, or do I keep them white? Thank you so much, as always, for listening, for watching. You are all incredible. I hope you're enjoying the podcast at the moment. I hope it's helping you. And we've gone through kind of a few motivational topics recently, which you seem to be enjoying, and I love presenting. So if you're enjoying them and you got to this point in the podcast, please do leave me a comment. Let me know what you like, because I really do want to create lessons and episodes that can help you in multiple different ways. So let me know what you like. Say hello in the comments. Give this episode a like, and I will see you all very soon. Have a good one, guys.